Good morning. Jeff Lovin with Woolpert. Many familiar faces in here, some new ones. Glad to be at a regional meeting. I haven't been able to do this in a long time, so it's good to be here. So this morning I want to talk to you a little bit about UAS, something that I've been very passionate and interested in for a while, and pleased to say that we are heavily involved in now with my firm, doing a lot of research, a lot of testing, and a lot of learning. Some of my folks, you all know Qasim, helped put this presentation together with me. He and some of the folks in our Woolpert Labs group are leading a lot of this effort, and this is just a quick synopsis of some of the stuff we've already learned, and give you a little information about our system, why we chose the company we're working with, and talk about the capabilities. Okay. There we go. So as you guys all know, it's came a long way, right? Every remote sensing. I don't know if you guys knew Jim Living. That's him probably there in that biplane. Or Wally Smith back in the day at Woolpert. Yeah. Till today, and the future. So it's just amazing. I've been in this business since '86, and just to see the changes. I started out flying as a part-time high school co-op in the back of a 206 with an LMK, compared to when I crawl into one of our aircraft today and see the touch screens and the computers and all. It's amazing how things have came, and then the irony of it going back to a smaller, more simplistic system with the UAS. So it's pretty interesting. My big thing at Woolpert is I just had one of our architects. I'm in the Cincinnati office now, and one of the architects came up and said, "Hey, my client, they're very interested. We're starting a new national program with them for building these sites, and they really are interested in our drones." And I'm like, "Don't say that word." The government uses drones. Woolpert is going to use UAS. so no, all drones aren't lethal, and that's what we're up against now. We're up against a couple of things I'm going to talk about in a little more detail, but one, obviously, we're up against the whole FAA working through its slow, sweet time through the whole process of how they're going to allow for civilian and commercial use of these systems, which some people have me asking, why is Woolpert working in that so early? And we'll get to that. But also, it's just this world of worlds concept perception with folks that the drones, they when they think about it, they think about the military application. That's where we've all come to know about UAS, is from the the war effort. And so when people start thinking about it being used here in the States, they're thinking of it looking in their bedroom window. They're thinking of getting shot at by a drone. They run a red light or something like that. And there's so many uses, and it's going to be amazing the next 10, 15, 20 years, the uses that we're going to see for these systems. So that'll subside. People will start to get accustomed. They'll start understanding, people start accepting it once they see the benefits and uses. As I already said, again, our perception is all surveillance, but there has already been some work done with the military. We do a lot with the Army. With the folks out at Fort Belvoir, we do a lot with the Air Force, and there's already been a lot of military mapping applications already started, and we're able to learn and rely on some of that we've already been involved with from a defensive perspective. So, what do I think some of the advantages are for our business? The ease of the day acquisition. And this is happening across all platforms, but it's really some things are really going to leap forward, I think, with the unmanned systems. The camera systems are pretty amazing. That such a small system, the type of accuracy, the type of geometry we're going to that we're seeing. I don't have a lot of that in here. Some of that's proprietary, but we are currently working on a new metric camera for our system that we've bought. Increased ability to map difficult areas and small projects. The way I see implementing UAS first at Woolpert, once the FAA allows us to fly these things, which again is by plan supposed to be 2015. I won't hold my breath that long. I'm afraid it'll continue to eke along, but we're I've been advocating and visited the FAA a couple times in DC. I'm pushing maps to stay on them to open this up to the commercial market. But one of the first places I see it being employed would be with our survey. We still have a very large survey operation. And if I look at projects, if we're developing a casino site in Southwest Ohio, not far from my house, and it's a typical Woolpert design engineering project. It's a couple 100-acre site, and years ago it would have been done photogrammetrically by us. Just our business and the way we've changed, and now we're doing these large, we're doing 3 statewide mapping programs. We're focused on larger and larger projects. It's not cost efficient to take a $3 million system with the aircraft, digital camera, the LiDAR, everything, and go fly a couple 100 acres. We don't do a lot of that for Woolpert engineering any longer. So if it's around that 200-acre site, it's back to the old days, and we're going out with field crews, but it's with advanced GPS technology. It's made it quicker. So that site, I know we manually topoed that site because, again, it's not cost efficient to take one of our aircraft that are already busy on a much larger project and go fly a very small engineering site. That's where I see first this UAS being deployed. So that raises some eyebrows when I start talking about this and the surveyors here that, hey, you guys are going to start flying UAS. But I think it will be in addition to a survey truck in the Woolpert future, where you could picture them going out to that same site. They do the boundary work, which they have to do. They set up some control. They launch the UAS, which it's a pre-planned flight, just like every other system we fly today, the flight management system. They launch the UAS. It goes up and flies a mini photogrammetry project. They can then go do some supplemental GPS pick up some more obscured areas, fence lines, whatever, do their work. At the end of the day, they load up the equipment, load up the UAS, head back to the office. They've got the survey data, they get the boundary work, and they now have a small photogrammetry project that we can process and run and collect the data. And so I see those, because again, the systems today, I'll get into more of the specifications of our system, but they're small, and they're for small projects. I mean, these aren't very quickly going to take over countywide mapping projects and so forth, although it's been humorous that just because we're testing it, and unfortunately not doing anything for profit in the U.S. with it yet, how many business leads are being generated because we are talking about it, because the press is out there, because everyone is so interested in UAS. But 8 of those 10 times, whether we could fly or not, it's been more of a large fixed-wing project. It's been a mobile project. The application has not been correct, but that's why people are calling. They're calling because of UAS. It's been pretty interesting. Expeditious data delivery. Again, this is where we're going to start seeing some of the more automated photogrammetric packages. I'm going to review some of the package we're looking at. So this is getting more into the whole, we've hired a couple, machine vision PhDs in our DC office, working with Qasim Abdullah and Leighton Hobbs. This is where we're going to start seeing much more automated photogrammetry coming into play, I think, in the future. And again, if you look at data sets by reduced costs, again, I said it was very expensive, too expensive for Woolpert to come and do such a small engineering site with an aircraft photogrammetrically. You get up to a couple of 100 acres, it's still getting expensive again with surveyors. And that's where, again, UAS, I think, will be very cost effective doing it photogrammetrically. And it can be metric. We're going to talk about that, accuracies that we're seeing. Again, great applications from that. Corridors, if you think of power line mapping, simple corridors, gas lines, all the gas work going on here in this region of eastern Ohio and western PA. Think of flying gas pipelines and so forth. It's a great application. Again, small engineering, construction sites already mentioned. Big interest in agriculture, precision agriculture for this. We're talking to some folks in Indiana. Environmental, a lot of the stuff we've been using photogrammetry for a long time. But I think there are more unique applications for this because it's just the flight altitude, the accuracy, and due to project size. It'll create its own niche in each of these markets. So we partnered with a firm called Altavian. They're out of Gainesville, Florida. A bunch of bright young men. I think there's 4 UAS companies in Gainesville, thanks to the University of Florida, doing a lot of research with UAS over the years. Why did we pick Altavian? All of these guys, came out of geomatics school, and in one of my early conversations, they said, hey, it's all about the data, and it's all about accuracy, and that is their approach. I mean, there's what really hasn't evolved for us and what we do yet in this market. So much of it is video, so much of it is surveillance, so much of it is focused in that arena. There's not much been done on the mapping side, especially with cameras and so forth. But these gentlemen, they're all photogrammetry students, so they started out with focus on data, which I've always said, young project manager stuff, it's like, guys, don't do this. Everything's a, if you're a hammer, everything's a nail. Whatever new toy Woolpert buys, don't go force it. We need to be good consultants and use the right tool. Same thing with UAS. Don't go. A lot of people get hung up on the cool little airplane. There's a lot of these X-wing designs out there, look like mini stealth fighters or whatever. They're terrible platforms for collecting aerial data because they're very unstable. So these guys looked at accuracy and mapping data first. That determined the camera. They went through rigorous. They're on about their 6th camera platform, and the camera then determined the aircraft platform. And so they really took a great approach to this. Really impressed with them and what they'd already done with this. Again, we were looking into it and actually ran into them through one of our Corps of Engineers clients. That's kind of how the marriage was made, and started working on projects with them for the Corps, which led to us eventually choosing them to be our overall strategic partner. So we've purchased our first system from them back in March, the what they call the Nova Block 3 system, and probably not enough pictures of it in here. So Altavian.com. Encourage you to check out their website. There's a lot more photos out there of that system and the other platforms they have. But we chose the Nova Block 3 because of its stability. It's basically about a 7-foot long system with a nearly 6-7 foot wide wingspan. Weighs about 15 pounds, and it is very stable. It's all electric. Did some of our first flight testing with a university partner back in April, and with Altavian and the Corps of Engineers, and it's been pretty interesting. Some more on why we went with those guys. The track record, I mentioned the Corps. The other companies, the Altavian's probably done more. They've done more for clients, for profit than any others, and it's really, I think, because they have the best system, and we really felt they had the most advanced and best system available. So there's one picture of it. That's actually in their manufacturing shop, which they'll be vacating soon. They're actually moving to a facility about 4 times larger. They haven't sold that many or have that many orders yet, but I think they will. But that's actually an unpainted, unfinished system there. I think that actually became ours. I think that's the first one we bought. So this is probably back in January, February. That's Darius Hensley, one of our project managers for the Corps of Engineers. He was there with the Corps visiting Altavian. So there gives you an idea of what the system looks like roughly. The sensor. So there's some of the specifications on the system. Pixel size, the array size, focal length. It's an electronic shutter, which is nice. And some of the ones we tested and looked at with the mechanical shutter, you get a much more limited life we were seeing with those. And again, what's amazing, these small systems, the advancements with, No, they bought it. It's a defense contractor. And that's the other thing. These young men already have some pretty direct links in with the Army and some other from defense. It's amazing some of the contracts they're prime on. Here's small Altavian, just 4 young men just graduated with their masters, have a contract. Their competitors are, Boeing, Northrop Grumman. So there's like 4 primes, and there's Altavian as a prime. and it's all because of the aircraft. But there's yet another company unnamed that they purchased the camera systems from. So that's where now there's a three-way partnership. We're working with them to come up with this even more 29 megapixel enhanced, much enhanced geometry camera that we're working with them on now. Yeah, right. 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 They do. Yes. Yeah, they design everything to do with the aerial platform. They design themselves. So they have an aeronautical engineer. Again, Woolpert it's a very strategic partnership. We're looking to invest in this company. I'm so impressed. I mean, the aircraft's great, but their flight control software and their flight management system, it's a ruggedized, suitcase-sized thing you take out in the field is very impressive. Especially that's what was amazing looking at the other systems. The other systems, my son has some pretty nice remote-controlled, cars and stuff. Some of these other systems, it's not much beyond a hobbyist-type controller. This is a pretty much military-grade spec system. Large suitcase, ruggedized. It's pretty impressive. And I've argued. I said you guys could possibly sell that separate to probably the whole industry. Just your flight control software and your flight controller itself, if they wanted. So yeah, everything to do with the aircraft, the flight management system. They write the software, they design the airframe, everything themselves in house. It's just the camera systems and the IMU, everything else, the components that they're purchasing elsewhere. Yes, I believe so. So of course, what are we doing? What are we bringing to the table? Again, just helping them with resources. Again, we've got our Woolpert Labs group. You guys know Dr. Qasim Abdullah, Leighton Hobbs, Dr. Josh Gluckman. We got a lot of folks working to take it forward with Altavian, doing the system calibrations, helping probably us as much as them complete a full photogrammetric workflow, so that we can, in 2015, if the green light comes on, that we can start actively marketing, selling this work. We'll be ready. That's why some people, we put the press release out. It's funny, the comments I got back, and a lot of it's like, that's cute, or why are you messing around with that right now, or that you think that'll ever happen, really happen. I mean, I really do. I think it will happen. I think it is going to affect our future in a big way. But there's a lot to do. If you're going to make money with this a couple years down the road when the green light comes on, there's a lot of work to do to create the workflows, so we can go out and sell this and make a profit. So we'll spend the next couple of years investing, figuring it out. But there's a lot of work ahead to get this to a true commercial service. So what we've done is we did a stockpile site. The ground sample distance of 1.5 centimeters has been one of our key test sites that we've done a lot of testing, the multiple camera systems and the software. We focused in on these 4 software packages. We looked at the Pix4 UAV 3D package, AggieSoft, Enso Mosaic, and Mincy APS. Those are the 4 packages that we've done our testing. So all 4 packages provide automation. Some of them do self-calibration. I won't bore you with this. Again, I'll give Jim this presentation. We'll get it available where you can see it. But there's kind of just a quick spreadsheet showing the pros and cons. And of course, like anything else, each of them had nice characteristics. None of them fulfilled everything. But if you count check marks there, right now I'd have to say we're pretty happy with the Mincy package. That may be where we're going. Again, more just verbiage on the thoughts on the packages, the conclusions. Again, the Mincy, the other thing I like about it, they seem to be newer to the game and seem to be very open to customization, to to us, giving them a lot of feedback and suggestions and requests. I mean, they seem really open to adapt their product for us. So it might be another reason we end up going that way. Again, I won't get into that, all the detail. I'm running a little long here. Here's just some nice screenshots. Show this is part of the site we're looking at. It was a site in Florida, as you can tell. Lots of white sand. We really wanted to test, the camera and its abilities. But it's just really neat because of the resolution. And you can't really see it here, but I mean, you can see what's in the back of that truck, tripod legs, and you can really, it's amazing the quality of these camera systems. Again, from companies that all of us really have never heard of. These are all companies been building cameras for the defense applications, and so that's the other thing. I think I've been challenging Hexagon and these guys that, hey, you guys need to wake up. There's a I made the analogy, it's like the auto industry in the 80s. I'm saying, look, you guys better look out, because Toyota and Honda and Kia and everything else is coming. I mean, there's going to be camera companies. There's going to be lots of choices coming out there, I believe. Because, but it's just something I hadn't thought of. I'd said that at ASPRS conference years back. Me and Mike Ritchie and a few others did a panel discussion. I think it'll actually leapfrog, and a lot of that will come through the UAS, not maybe as much on the larger format fixed wing. We'll start seeing a lot more systems show up through this UAS technology. And there's a DIM. Again, this is all from, I'm not sure which package this is from, but the DIM of the site. So basically, the accuracies right now, the camera that when we bought our system they're using, we're easily able to meet the Class 2 standards. We're very hopeful and confident and think, our goal is to get to the Class 1 standards with this new camera. We'd hoped to already have it finished. We did take it out for an initial test run. Had some camera issues, some things. So we're back at the shop, with the camera, back with the manufacturer, working on some things that had some issues with currently. A little bit, again, going through the testing procedure. Again, it's showing all the systems are integrated, working well to meet our requirements and so forth. And again, this is what we're going to be working on the next 2 years, with hopes that in 2015 the FAA will really have things going. But I will say, I debated bringing the system here to show you guys, but thankfully it is working, but it's working in Colombia. We've got a project in Colombia, so it's down there. We're flying in Colombia right now, which is again another challenge I've been giving to the FAA, is that, look, the other countries are way ahead of the U.S. Some just from a safety standpoint, they haven't really thought about it and they don't have restrictions. But no, there's others doing a lot of research. I mean, there's the others that are taking it serious and embracing it and enabling it. No, there was a UAS company actually in Colombia, and they were struggling with a couple projects, and they had heard and saw some of our press releases and stuff. And they contacted us, went down there, visited them, went and talked to their clients and so forth, and they welcomed us in with open arms as a partner for them on this project, because they just were struggling. And again, they went and bought a very cute system, but realized very quickly it couldn't meet the capabilities that they'd already signed up for with some of these clients. So yeah, we're down there actually doing some for-profit work in Colombia. So unfortunately, can't do it in the U.S., and that's one of our big challenges. Here's just some design, flight designs and so forth. And again, for time's sake, we'll jump over this stuff. Be glad to share it with you. Again, just mapping out the testing scenarios. So last slide here, just the future. Again, once the FAA eases the regulations, I do think it'll flourish. I think this will take off. I do think it's going to be a big part of what we do. And I think it could. In the next 15 years or so, I think it could replace manned acquisition in our business. I really do. And a lot of people scoff at me. I know my flight department does with that, but they'll still be a part of it. And that's the thing. It's like, guys, they're going to run in parallel for a long time because of the application. As the years go by, we will be allowed to fly larger and larger systems, which will get us to more large format sensors on these aircraft. But for many years, and I may be way off, 15 may be way too soon. For many years, it'll be back to the smaller projects. The smaller projects that now we might subcontract or we try to do a survey will be filled with UAS immediately. But we'll still have our, we're not going to fly the OSIP program for the state of Ohio with UAS. Taking about 40 years. I mean, we'll be flying it with large format systems and fixed wing aircraft for a long time. But eventually, I think they will allow commercial private entities to fly larger and larger aircraft. And at that time, sensors get smaller, more compact, lightweight. That intersection will happen at some point where we could see total unmanned flight, I think, in the geospatial profession. So the other exciting thing is it's going to that's where I think a lot of the advancements in the automated processing of 3D data and so forth some of that will leapfrog into the UAS market, which I think will drive a lot of people there. Not that development will stop on the larger format systems, but I think that's where people just getting into the business, they'll start. We are so conservative, and it's good, we should be, but it takes us a long time to gradually move towards more automated things. I think a lot of that will happen more rapidly with the UAS. So,
do you see room for new markets since you'll be driving cost surveys down?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's what everyone will have to find that sweet spot for themselves. So, we've already had lots of requests where I'm like, that's not us, right? I mean, but yeah, I think that there'll be hundreds of new opportunities and things we haven't thought of. Especially from my firm, there'll be things that in the past Woolpert wouldn't have looked at that we will. We haven't done much in the utility corridor mapping. I mean, that's we just took that. We got into the big, large LiDAR and imagery projects, and we just don't have the platforms to cost effectively do power line mapping or things like that. So now, I see we got multiple projects in Columbia. One of them is a power line mapping project in Columbia, one of the projects. So yeah, it'll definitely open up new markets, not just for my firm from a just fit and cost, but also it'll create new. I think it'll really advance the whole precision agriculture market.
Can you share the cost of that platform?
It's just under 100,000, I think. That's with the camera, fully outfitted with the flight management software, with ready to go. It's about right at just under 100,000.
And how many people are required to run a survey?
2, I believe. Yeah. It's a line of sight. So you have an observer and you have an operator. And that's just operate the system.
Most likely, if it goes, if the FAA allows it, you'll probably have to have a licensed pilot.
Yes, yeah, have to have a licensed pilot to do that. Yeah. So.
And that plus automatic extraction is going to be like something.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Mark, you were saying this is economical, 200 acre. What would be the large end of something where this would still make sense? You didn't want to do Ohio, so
yeah, somewhere between that. Yeah, we're still trying to work on that through some of these projects we're doing now, and some of the testing, doing the math, my guess would probably be around a 500 acre or so site with this system at this altitude. Would be ideal. So that's a nice blocked project, we're really don't know, so we're going to find out with this power line, what are we willing to tackle as far as a linear type project, corridor project. I mean, we know the thing will stay in the air for an hour and a half at a time. So some of that's still got to be worked out, but I would say about a 500 acre site.
Okay, so this system 1.5 hours, how long you have up in the air?
Well, yeah, 1.5 hours on site flying mission time. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Is it electric?
It's electric. Yeah. 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 It's about 35 mile per hour cruise speed.
line of sight restrictions gotta be, I don't know, I'm not gonna tricky there.
Yeah. So we've actually got multiple systems down there, and we got quite a crew down there. So yeah, it's a whole flight planning
Hour and a half away.
exercise. Well, yeah, and it's pretty heavy terrain, so that there's another challenge with it. So yeah, we bit off a
Jumped in hard.
yeah, we jumped in up to our ears. Yeah.
And that sort of ties into my questions. Do you find challenges with wind, and especially for something in that light climate, that slow thermals for attitude and altitude control?
Sure. Yeah, and that's again where not that's perfect, but with this system, but this one is, I mean, I would say 5-10 times more stable than anything else we flew. I mean, this one holds pretty well. That's why some of the stuff we've looked at, and there's some big name systems I won't mention that are out there already, and we found it almost unusable data on what we would consider a fairly normal day, spring day, because of that, just the stability of dealing with crab and tilt, and yeah, we go to try to process, especially if you want to start using more automated processing. I mean, it just blows up. I mean, it's just so it's pretty stable, but it's yeah, sure, you got all those challenges with it's 11-pound system. So
Right. So do you use a using it?
yes.
Is it an active?
Yeah, I believe so. And I'm pausing because with the new camera, a lot of that's changing. I think, and that may be just part of the new camera system. But yeah, so well, I think I'm getting way over time. So, but I'm around all day, answer more questions. I don't want to eat into the next thing. But thank you.